From the studios of TLC Talk Radio, welcome to another edition of TashaTalkz. I'm your girl Tasha, and we have another great episode lined up for you. Be sure to follow and like us on all social media, TashaTalkz with a Z, and listen to us every day on TLCTalkRadio.com. Today's episode is a continuation of last week's episode. We had such a good time discussing the needs and wants of Black men and women, and we had our representatives here, Michael and Aisha, to share their opinions on what it is that we want, what it is that we need from one another as a people. Black love is so important. I'm a proponent. I'm not anti anybody else. I don't care what y'all do, but don't disparage us.
That's right.
Yeah. We've been having a great time this week off of the show because I am venturing into online dating, and what you should never, ever do with me or anybody else particularly. Isn't that how you say it? Particularly? But what you should never do is disparage Black people on the very first conversation. Well, you shouldn't disparage Black people generally. But then literally that was the first conversation. So Mike and Aisha and I, we have had a great deal of fun at dude's expense. Shout out to the online dating platform. This is not my thing. I'm green, but whatever. Black love, Black relationships. And last week we got into a variety of topics, but there was a lot that Michael had prepared that we didn't get an opportunity to touch. So first of all, welcome back, Michael and Aisha.
Thank you for having us again.
Yes, Tasha, thank you so much.
We appreciate you. Really, really, we do. Michael, you and I talk at length all the time about, personal accountability, and how that plays into relationships, because before you can be in a relationship with anybody in any realm, not even just romantic relationships, you kind of have to know or should know who you are.
Absolutely.
What were the thoughts that you put pen to paper? You came over here, you were writing, you were diligent. I failed to take pictures. What is it that you really wanted to get out and share about how all of this relates to us as a community?
Well, I approached it from somewhat of a military aspect with what are called general orders. And the first general order is to take charge of my post and all temple property in view. So
were you in the military?
I'm not in the military.
Okay.
However, I'm a member of the Nation of Islam, and we have paramilitary training.
Got it.
And so with that in mind, I wanted to just break down that initial statement, because I think it has a lot to do with our relationships, yes, in the home, but which of course is a microcosm of the condition of our overall community.
Sure.
So when it says to take charge of my post and all temple property in view, that means to entrust someone with a task or a duty or a responsibility. Mm-hmm. And so what is the charge of us as Black men? What is our duty? What is our responsibility? What have we been entrusted with, and by whom have we been entrusted with those responsibilities and duties? And the other word in that statement was property. Well, property I'm approaching from a very different perspective. Property in this sense means our attributes, qualities, and characteristics that we possess as men. And we need to cultivate those gifts and talents. No human being on this planet is born without their own diverse skill set and gifts and talents. Now, what is necessary is that we cultivate them and put those attributes, qualities, and gifts into the service of our families and our communities. And then once we do that, I think we can best serve our families and our communities, and that continues, of course, to spread abroad. That's the way that I look at it. That I think that's just very important.
Yeah.
What about you, Miss Otto?
Well, looking at your list, I didn't look at it as a military thing. So I kind of was more personal with what I thought it meant. Like, for example, when you said property, I was thinking about joint ownership of material possessions that the family had. And I'm divided it up to, well, this is your car, this is her car, things like that. But at the end of the day, it's a family thing. And we need to focus on ownership of togetherness instead of, this is mine, this is yours, you pay for that, I pay for this.
Absolutely.
No, everybody pays.
I agree. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that. So the reason that I approached it is just like, and Tasha really hit it from the onset. I approached it with this in this manner because I'm a firm believer in self-improvement. I can't improve anyone outside of me. So self-improvement is the basis for community development. And with that in mind, I focused on that word to deal with an aspect of self-cultivation. But what you stated about property, that also goes right into that, because when the other person is dealing with this from this perspective, that same perspective, the mate, then she's doing the same thing. And now we're putting in service to one another the attributes, the qualities, the gifts, the talents that we have in service of one another. So yes, we can divvy up physical or tangible property, but we also can divvy up spiritual or quote unquote intangibles, such as our characteristics that make us who and what we are. And that is how we become more complementary instead of antagonistic to one another.
Yeah, like who handles X in the house? Who is the better person to talk to the children when they're in the heat of the moment?
Yes.
Of, tearing up your kitchen.
Absolutely.
Like maybe, her personality is not the one.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. Doesn't make her a bad mom. Mm-hmm. But let's give it to Pop over here because she might throw you across the kitchen. Those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a balancing of property. That's another aspect of property. That's our skill sets are our property. But I know that wasn't a way that most people look at it, so I think that what she brought out was an excellent point to complement this very perspective that I use to approach that word.
Aisha, you had something to add?
Yes, and I hope I'm loud enough. You said an excellent point about I lost my point. No, I didn't. About taking care of yourself and cultivating yourself first. That's one of our problems in the Black community. When we're trying to do things for ourselves and better ourselves, it's shunned upon. It's like, well, why are you not over here trying to help everybody else? And people don't realize in order to help everybody, you have to help yourself first.
Put your own oxygen mask on first.
Exactly.
Charity begins where?
At home.
Thank you. So it's not selfish, and it's not. I think that what you just stated is very different from individualism. Mm-hmm. Learning how to cultivate ourselves and then put the best of ourselves into the service of the whole is very different from individualism. Individualism, from my understanding and perspective, is I got mine, you get yours the best way you know how.
Right.
That's not what I'm into.
No, not at all.
It just doesn't work for us.
But when people think about self, they automatically think of individualism. But Black people don't understand those are two different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And like you said, then it's frowned upon. Then it's who do you think you are?
Right. You think you're better than me. You're the black sheep of the family because you're on your own doing things.
And I may have mentioned this last week, but a lot of times your action can illuminate the inaction of others. Mm. It reminds them that they're not doing what they could be, because everybody's service is different. Like you said, everybody's skill set is different. Everybody, I'm the media person in my family. You know what I'm saying? But, my other cousin over here, can do whatever it is that she does, and he can do what he does. It doesn't mean that anyone is better.
Absolutely.
It's just that our skills should complement one another. We talked about that in a prior relationship of mine literally moments ago. Like,
yes.
Your skills are not better than mine, or you don't know more than me because you're older. You just have a different skill set.
So the question is, how do we get people to understand that? I don't have an answer for that.
Education, programs like this, conversations like this, not just, on a radio station, but in person, challenge our circle. When you hear someone, I imagine that both of you do, knowing your individual personalities, but the question I would pose to everyone else is, when you hear your friend say something dumb as hell, do you challenge it?
Yes.
Or do you just let it ride? I know you do.
You know I do.
I know you do. But how many people just look at them and then send a text and say, my friend dumb as hell, versus saying, well, what if we looked at it from this perspective? Because you don't have to be adversarial to offer a different perspective.
That's right.
And it all depends on your network as well. Yeah. I have a friend that constantly says that she's trying to expand her network. She's tired of basically going out to dinner.
Okay.
Let's go build a business. Let's go do something else. Let's talk investments. Let's talk just teaching. People don't want to do that. They just want to go out and have fun, which you can do. Nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
But it's more than just having fun with your network. If you can't invest in your network, then you don't really have a network. You got a little group of people to hang with.
Or accountability.
I like that. I think, and so I saw this on social media as well, and a brother said exactly what you just stated, that we need, just like we spend time celebrating and, trying to unwind from the arduous weeks that we all have from life and lifing and adulting and however we want to put it, we absolutely need to take, because professional Tasha is different from personal Tasha.
Yeah.
And we need to start becoming more acquainted with the professional that we have as friends. And when we do that, we will be surprised, we can be humbled, and then we can begin to utilize all of these wonderful skill sets that we put into the service of everyone except for ourselves and communities. I think that's where there's a dereliction. I'm going to speak personally on myself, is that whatever skill set that I have, I want to make sure, not that it just brings in a paycheck, but I want to make sure that to whatever degree that I can use it, I want to ensure and make sure and be found accountable for serving the needs of a community that has absolutely been decimated by our experience in this country.
Absolutely. I think the accountability group, my girlfriends and I, we're friends, and we send all kinds of ridiculous text messages and hilarious text messages and prayers and all of that, but we meet. We kind of fell off this last month, but we meet once a month.
Oops.
To say, because life can get in the way.
Absolutely.
But honest.
Right, but that doesn't mean that we won't resume, because we just have to. But what are you doing? What were your goals? What steps did you take toward making them? And then if you didn't, why? Was it a life situation? Was it, hell, I was just being lazy? Whatever that looks like, those check-ins can remind you, even if it's, oh my God, we meeting next week. First of all, I didn't remember about a chicken. And second, I ain't got nothing in my notes.
Right.
It may light a fire under you.
And you know what? I actually admire you and your friends for doing that. That's really a good idea. How come I wasn't included? Yeah, I can put that out there.
I'm sorry, that's a different friend group, but you can come. I don't know.
I wasn't either. I mean, maybe it's just a little sexism. Who knows?
Wow, that's how y'all feel. What y'all not gonna do is loud talk me on my show. No, I'm just kidding.
We apologize.
No, but I mean, that's important. Sometimes you can't do that with your family. In that friend group, 2 of them are my cousins, one on either side of the family. So that's a fortunate thing, but how that can get. But to Aisha's point, you are included in this next event that I'm hosting about money management.
Oh, yes, I am. Yes, I am included in that one. I got that message.
Yes, because I want people to know who this woman is who has helped me make sure that my ducks are in a row. I'm not rich yet. I plan to be.
Yes, we do.
But I want to be a good steward over the little, so that when I get the much,
that's right.
I'm doing exactly what I need to do, and it's not like, ooh, let me just go blow this on a party. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So you put things in place, and you do network. The person that's hosting, Aisha, you met at a fun event. She was here for my birthday photo shoot because I'm the ham of the station, and so it's important that whatever it is we do, we're able to network, and who knows, an opportunity may present itself. And like you said, now we take our skill sets and we share them with the community.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's essential. There's just so much. I think that when I look at, and this may seem like a digression, but I hope it's tied into our topic about using and cultivating ourselves.
Sure.
I think so some of the words, another two words that I looked up were force and power. And force means mental, moral strength or power. A person or thing regarded as exerting power or influence. It could be a group of people brought together and organized for a particular purpose. Now, power is the capacity to or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or a course of events. This is what we are lacking in our community, and it shows because when we look at the data on flight or black flight from Chicago and Illinois, we know that we are leaving in the thousands. Yet we leave and we move into communities that aren't much different than what we left. So instead of exerting our force and power, we flee.
We scatter.
Exactly. And we all know that you don't gain muscle by not using it. You gain muscle by exerting it, constantly utilizing it, building it. And so we need to use the muscle of our minds, the muscle of organization, the muscle of unity, the muscle of force and power, so that we can begin to influence, change, and direct the communities in which we live. We should be able to make our communities safe and decent places to live for ourselves, our women, and children. It is absolutely an insult for every man, and it's a direct charge against us that our communities look the way that they look, and we run around talking about I'm a man. No, we're not. We're aged boys.
Oh. What responsibility, if you were going to give a list, and I guess you addressed it at the top of the conversation, but if you were going to give a list, what is it that, if we are talking about personal accountability, and you said it starts there, and the man is the leader in the home, he has to get himself together so that he can effectively lead his family, so that then we can effectively build communities and show our force and power, like you said, right? So what is it what is the list, if you had one?
That's heavy.
That the black man would need to build up, to shore up. What kinds of things would he need to shore up?
Brothers may not like this one.
Okay. Uh-oh. You listen real close.
As men, I think generally we're selfish.
In what way?
We're selfish emotionally. We're selfish in our endeavors and responsibility. So I, as a man, may see, well, my wife is taken care of, my children are taken care of, and then we think, duty done. No. Because your wife has to go to her car in an environment that still is wild. And if you are not, and we are not fathering our neighbors, fathering the children everywhere that we are, to the degree that we can, it may only be, how you doing? It may only be a conversation. It may be very small things, but each and every opportunity that we get, it may be as little as a smile to cultivate a relationship with someone who then in a time of need or despair may actually come to you for counsel. And so I think that the selfishness is a part of not the nature of man, but I think it's a part of what has been cultivated, being reared by illegitimate parents in America. And so since they have been the awful stewards of our life force, then it is our responsibility to then make a list and look at what we need and and listen dispassionately, listen critically, listen objectively, and listen without being defensive. Listen to the needs of our women, and then strive to be found, ensuring that we are fulfilling those needs. But we know what needs to be done. We know Pookie and Ray Ray out here slaughtering people on the bus stop. We know that there are things that are rampant in our community that we could address, and for whatever reason, we're not. And it doesn't mean that you have to judge anyone for where they are. I'm not talking about judgment. I'm talking about beginning conversations and building relationships so that perhaps a person can see something through your experience or their experience with you that heretofore they had not seen. Because the scope of their relationships may have only been dope man. Can I have another hit? I mean,
I'm mad you rapping.
Oh, excuse me.
Aisha.
I completely agree with everything you just said. And while you were talking, I was thinking about Black Lives Matter. And when it was first formed, and to find out that women had that up, it's like the women are always leading. When are the men going to step up and do things?
That's a beautiful statement. So, for me, I am a firm believer in these words from the Old Testament. Kill the male and spare the female. Killing someone is not just killing them physically. Kill them morally, kill them mentally, kill them psychologically, kill them spiritually, make them so impotent that they may as well be dead. So this is what we are dealing with in the community. You all are really dealing with a nation of dead men. And I'm not saying, when I look at Black Lives Matter, because I know there's a whole nother side of that, that when they are saying Black Lives Matter, if you've ever taken the time to look at their, what would you call it, charter somewhat, then you can kind of see another agenda in Black Lives Matter. I won't touch on that right now because that's not our primary topic. But nonetheless, I think that we should, as men, we have to take charge. So that's the first general order. Take charge of our lives. And so when we take charge of our individual lives, then we begin to intelligently utilize the skill set of our women so that we can take charge of our communities. It's a pairing that must happen. I like that word, pairing, because pairing means that we're working in unison. So when we're working in unison with an idea, unity doesn't mean that we agree on every point, but unity does mean that we have identified an issue where we do agree, and we're going to galvanize and summon the force, the total force and power of our being to face and overcome that particular issue in and with unity. I think that's where we start.
And I also wanted to add, sorry, that the black woman needs to kind of step back a little bit and I ain't gonna say let a man lead, because I don't believe you let anybody do anything. Like you said,
Hallelujah.
The man needs to take charge. Sadly,
We like that, by the way, men.
we
Say it again.
no,
Say
we
it
don't
again.
like it. We love it.
Ooh, baby.
We don't always want to lead.
That's right.
But we're not going to let our families fall apart.
That's right.
Can you repeat that, please?
We don't always want to lead, but we don't want our families to fall apart. And if we got to be the one in the front, we got to be that big mama taking care of everything because the daddies and the sons and the uncles are around doing whatever, we're going to do it. But at the same time, what are we teaching our young boys?
That's exactly what I
And
was
they
about
say
to
that
ask
they
you.
say that a woman cannot raise a man. I don't necessarily agree with that. However, it'll be better if a guy raises a guy. Things happen. We got to work with what we got. But we need to stop catering to these boys like they're babies and treat them like the men that they're going to be.
So I'm glad you brought that point up, Aisha. I would like to know from both of you. I know I've heard it. I'm not sure if you've heard it, but there's a cliche saying that mothers, and I know that this was speaking specifically to the black experience, but it could be universal. Mothers raise their daughters, but love their sons. How do we begin to change that so that our daughters and sons are both being loved and raised? Because clearly, if you're raising the daughter, are you really loving her? And if you're only quote unquote loving the son, but you're not rearing him to be prepared for the adversities of life, if love is a verb, that means action. So what are you really preparing? What actions have you given him that show that you are really in love with him?
Aisha?
I'm sorry I keep waving my hand camera because I want to make sure Tasha sees me.
I see you. It's a small studio.
Oh yeah, it is. But for starters, the black mother is so worried that her son will not be loved by the outside world.
Say it.
Don't ask me to repeat that.
No, but you're right, and that's exactly where I was going.
And we want to show love to our sons. We want to show love to our daughters as well. And we have to find a balance.
Yes.
We have to. You cannot raise your daughter and expect her to want to submit when she gets married, because all she sees is a strong woman taking charge, while her son is her date. Her son, he
becomes a second child.
No, the son. No, I'm talking about the son.
Oh.
The son is the boyfriend.
Oh,
yeah.
The son is the husband. No. You can love your children. You should love them equally. But you have to show responsibility. You have to give the black boy responsibility coming up. You can't just cater to their every need. Otherwise, 20 years from now, we're going to end up in the same situation we're in now.
Or worse, because that's not how life works. And so now he is ill-equipped to deal with. So I was going to say something very similar to what you said, Aisha. A lot of times it's, and it's probably subconscious, but the mother sees all of the adversity that the black man faces. And she's just like, oh, I don't want my baby to go out in that. And I don't know why it's different for girls, but...
I'd like to touch on that when you finish.
Okay, but... they overlove him. It's a warped defense, if you will. They're trying to protect him from it, but now he's ill-equipped to do anything. And now, then you got something different. Now when he does meet somebody and she's waiting on him to man up, mom is still in love nurture mode. Well, why you being mean to my son? Because your son play his PlayStation all day and the mortgage is due and I'm the only one paying it. Good day. That's why. Michael, you were going to say.
I think that's an excellent point. But in defense of mother, I will say this. The black woman's experience in America is like rearing a male child in a house that's absolutely on fire with gasoline constantly being poured on it. So I think that our experience is that maybe subconsciously, maybe unconsciously, the black woman does not want to rear a man that's so strong that now he's challenging the forces and the powers of our oppression, because in her mind, she does not want to lose her child like we lost a Martin, like we lost a Malcolm, like we lost a Nat Turner, like we've lost so many to a system that is hell-bent on our destruction. So I think that also plays a heavy role in how and why our women nurture or handle the rearing of the black male the way that they do.
I agree with that, and I'm going to pause you right there. I want you to keep your notes for next week, because that's a good place to end as we put a pin in, exactly why this is happening as we begin to delve into that. You've been listening to TLC Talk Radio's TashaTalkz with a Z. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course YouTube. Catch us every day on TLCTalkRadio.com. We will catch you next week.